June 6, 1944. The largest seaborne invasion in history. Over 150,000 Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy to begin the liberation of Western Europe. This is a quick run-through of D-Day, the planning, the courage, and the consequences that changed the course of World War II. By 1944, Nazi Germany occupied much of Europe. The Soviet Union had been fighting Germany in the east since 1941, and the Western Allies, primarily the United States, Britain, and Canada, planned a cross-channel invasion to establish the long-promised Second Front in Western Europe. The objective was to establish beachheads in Normandy, push inland, and begin the campaign that would eventually liberate occupied Europe. D-Day was not a spur-of-the-moment attack. It was the result of months, indeed years, of planning, deception, and logistics. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, led by General Dwight D. Eisenhower, coordinated forces from multiple nations. The overall plan, Operation Overlord, combined airborne landings to seize key inland positions with a massive amphibious assault on 5 beaches codenamed Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. Allied planners also engineered remarkable logistical solutions. Floating artificial harbors known as Mulberry harbors would allow supplies to be unloaded even before major ports had been captured, while an enormous supply network was prepared to sustain the invasion force once ashore. Deception was just as important as firepower. Operation Bodyguard, together with its sub-Operation Fortitude, convinced German commanders that the main invasion would likely take place at Pas-de-Calais rather than Normandy. The deception went far beyond spreading false information. Allied intelligence created an entire fictitious army, the first U.S. Army Group, supposedly commanded by General George S. Patton, one of America's most respected battlefield commanders. Inflatable tanks, wooden aircraft, dummy landing craft, fake radio traffic, and carefully managed double agents all reinforced the illusion that the real invasion would strike elsewhere. Even after troops landed in Normandy, many German commanders believed the attack was only a diversion and continued holding valuable reserves near Calais, expecting a second and much larger invasion. Today, Operation Fortitude is regarded as one of the most successful military deception campaigns in history. The Allied force included American, British, Canadian, and troops from several other Allied nations operating under a unified command. General Dwight D. Eisenhower served as Supreme Commander, while General Bernard Montgomery commanded the ground forces during the initial invasion. Senior American commanders, including General Omar Bradley, directed operations on their respective sectors. On the German side, command was divided between several headquarters and further complicated by Adolf Hitler's close control over many strategic decisions. The weather almost prevented the invasion altogether. Early June brought rough seas, strong winds, and low cloud cover across the English Channel, conditions that threatened bombing accuracy, airborne operations, and amphibious landings alike. Allied meteorologists identified a brief improvement in the weather on June 6, giving Eisenhower a narrow opportunity to proceed. After consulting his commanders and weather experts, he made the difficult decision to launch the invasion. Had it been postponed again, the next suitable combination of tides, moonlight, and weather might not have arrived for weeks, giving Germany more time to strengthen its coastal defenses and increasing the risk that the deception plan would fail. Shortly before dawn on June 6, airborne divisions parachuted behind enemy lines to capture bridges, road junctions, and key exits from the beaches. Many units landed scattered because of darkness, poor weather, and anti-aircraft fire, yet these dispersed groups often achieved their objectives through initiative and improvisation, while also creating confusion among German defenders. Then, at first light, amphibious assault waves struck the 5 beaches. The fighting varied considerably from sector to sector. Utah and Gold experienced comparatively lighter resistance, while Omaha Beach became synonymous with some of the fiercest fighting of the entire operation. Steep bluffs, fortified bunkers, and well-positioned German machine gun nests inflicted heavy casualties on the first waves of American troops. Small unit initiative, combat engineers clearing beach exits under fire, and destroyers moving dangerously close to shore to bombard German positions gradually turned the situation in the Allies' favor. Naval gunfire and air attacks supported the landings, although poor weather, smoke, and strong German defenses sometimes reduced their effectiveness. Within hours, Allied forces had begun securing beachheads and linking the landing zones together. The invasion was anything but straightforward. Soldiers had to cross beaches littered with mines, steel obstacles, and heavily fortified positions. The weather delay complicated airborne operations and scattered many paratroopers far from their intended drop zones. Nevertheless, rigorous planning, extensive rehearsals, flexible leadership, rapid engineering work, and overwhelming Allied air superiority all contributed to the invasion's eventual success. On the German side, confusion over Allied intentions delayed an effective response. Many commanders believed Normandy was only a diversion, expecting the main invasion at Pas-de-Calais. In addition, disagreements within the German high command over how best to deploy armored divisions, combined with Hitler's personal control over several reserve formations, slowed critical decisions during the opening hours of the invasion. D-Day established the crucial foothold the Allies needed. Over the following weeks, fierce fighting continued through Normandy's bocage, the dense hedgerow countryside that heavily favored the defenders. Eventually, Operation Cobra enabled American forces to break through the German lines, leading to a rapid advance across France. By late August 1944, Paris had been liberated and German forces were in retreat across Western Europe. But the human cost was immense. Thousands of Allied and German soldiers were killed, wounded, or reported missing during the invasion and the battles that followed. French civilians also suffered greatly as fighting swept across towns and villages throughout Normandy. D-Day forced Germany to fight an increasingly difficult war on two major fronts, eased pressure on the Soviet Union in the east, and accelerated the collapse of Nazi control in Western Europe. Behind every strategic objective were countless acts of individual courage. Combat engineers cleared mines and obstacles while under constant enemy fire so that later waves could reach the beaches. Medics treated wounded soldiers in exposed positions despite the danger around them. Naval crews repeatedly ferried reinforcements, ammunition, and supplies through rough seas and enemy shellfire. French civilians endured bombardment, displacement, and the destruction of their homes as the battle unfolded around them. The liberation of Western Europe came at a tremendous human cost for soldiers and civilians alike. D-Day is remembered not only for its scale, but also for the extraordinary cooperation it required. Soldiers, sailors, airmen, engineers, intelligence officers, resistance fighters, and civilians all played vital roles in the operation's success. Memorials, museums, and annual commemorations continue to honor those who served and those who lost their lives. The lessons of Normandy, coalition warfare, deception, logistics, and the integration of air, land, and sea power continue to be studied by military organizations around the world. June 6, 1944, remains one of the most significant military operations ever undertaken. The success of D-Day did not end the war overnight, but it established the foothold that ultimately led to the liberation of Western Europe and the defeat of Nazi Germany. More than 80 years later, it remains a testament to extraordinary planning, international cooperation, and the courage and sacrifice of those who took part. If you enjoyed this quick run-through of D-Day, please like and subscribe for more concise history explainers. Let us know in the comments if there is anything you would have included in a brief summary of this remarkable chapter in history.